Hey folks, welcome back to the camp. The almost finished camp now. Got the roof done the other day, ironically when it was a rainy day. I've gone for a kind of tarp roof this time. I've doubled over a tarp. It's a lot easier in terms of setup, weight on top of the roof, and also I can roll that back now if I want more light in the shelter. I can just roll that tarp back on sunny days and clear days, and then obviously when it starts to rain I can roll that back forward. So for the time being I'm just going to keep it as that tarp rather than do a permanent roof. Just for now I'm happy with it, and it means I can crack on with doing more kind of bushcraft stuff really, as opposed to just the kind of building. I'm happy with the shelter as it is. Still need to do a log store, still need to do a few other bits in there, but I'm pleased and it's done so far. I've also done the fire pit. That's different to the one I've done here before. I'm on peat soil here, which is really dry, fluffy, low, like dangerous to have a fire on soil where it's all pine trees and conifers here. So I have to be very careful about how I do fires and fire pits. The previous pit, which you would have seen me build years ago, those of you who've been subscribed for a while, we actually put a sand base to it and then lined it with rock, and it's totally, the forest floor is totally protected. We actually brought that sand in, whereas this time with this pit, what I've done is I've utilised some of the old sandbags that I used for the World War II dugout foxhole shelter in the film last year. I'm still going to utilise that shelter. I'm just using as much wood from it as possible and trying to recycle. And so I've actually made it probably about 8 inches deep, 6 to 8 inches deep of, that's all sand, rocks. There's not clay in there, but it's a bit sand, rocks and mud. And it's that thick, so any fire that's on top, even if I have a fire for hours and overnight, that ash layer and that heat isn't going to go all the way down to the peat. It's going to be blocked by the stones, the rocks and all that sand. So I'm pleased with it. I've lined it with pine logs, and obviously I've made the sand, I've compacted it down over the edge of the pine logs so that they don't burn. And to be honest, I won't have a fire on it big enough for it to have, our winters aren't cold enough here for it to have a monster fire that's going to pour over all the edge of the pine there. And so now I went to my woods yesterday. I've just collected lots of hazel saplings, and I'm just going to make a really simple rudimentary fish trap, crayfish trap, or a small fish trap. And I've just got some sort of thicker staves here. These are going to be the upright staves, and I'm just going to dig these into the ground and just start weaving. I don't think I've got enough hazel with me, thin hazel, to weave around, so I might have to carry this on in another episode, but at the same time I've got tree roots here that I could use and things like that. So we're just going to work with it and see where we get to. The fire's on and I've got a coffee. I'm happy. Cheers for tuning in, folks. Just going to push these in the ground. That's why I've spiked them. Not going to make a big trap here. I'm going real small. More because I've been out of practice of this for a while. It's more of a sort of model trap / demo that I can use. Okay. So I've gone for an odd number of staves, and it just means that when I'm weaving it, the weave doesn't kind of collapse and go wonky. If you do an even number of staves, then your weave doesn't bind very tight and it ends up just going wonky. So I've always found that's how I've learned, is by doing it that way. So we're only, like I say, we're only making something small for maybe crayfish or things like something like that. I'm going to lash just up here, just for the time being, to make it easier to make the weave for the first few weaves, and then I'm going to undo the lashing and start weaving it in. I know for a fact I haven't got enough hazel, but we'll see where we get to today. Because this isn't vine, it's going to need like pre-bending really, because I cut it yesterday. It's been really dry, and so it's not very forgiving, and it could snap still. Even though it's green, it's all green wood. Just need to break the fibres up a bit. I could have twisted it like a withy, I guess. See, there's a bit of a snap there. Lemon ants. Right, first few weeds are in. We'll undo this. Should make it easier now. So because I'm only going for a small fish trap, I've actually got quite a lot of material up here that's not getting used. It is a bit too thick to weave, but some of it is quite thin. So I'm going to just make use of that and just saw off gently. It's still so dry, so I might have to go into the woods over there and see if there's any really flexible birch just to finish it off, which is, I'd like to have done it all with hazel, but it's not going to happen. So I've run out of hazel and I've just grabbed a load of silver birch instead from the birch tree woodland that's nearby. Now this is again green, but what will happen is it will crack still, but it will, because of all the moisture in it, it will still hold its shape a lot more. At least that's what I hope. Sadly it's going to make the fish trap not look as well. It will look pretty, but it's not about looks, it's about practicality. But it's going to give it two tones of colour now. This birch is a totally different colour to hazel. Getting to the top now, so I'm having to use kind of really thin bits of birch, otherwise it's just such an acute angle it will just snap. And so I'm at the stage where I nearly need to just wrap around, but we'll see how far I can get before the pieces really do start snapping on me, which they're starting to, like that. So now I just need some really soft cordage, like tree roots. There we go. There's one bit. A few of those. So there's going to be two parts to the fish trap, but essentially the main part is finished. I still could probably weave a bit more tree root up here. I just used some Scots pine root to do this bit. So that's why I put spikes on the vertical stage, so that I could keep it all rigid. Now it should, in theory, as I pull it out, stay in its shape. There we go. One very rudimentary primitive fish trap. I'll sort out the tips up here. Not an amazing shape, but that's because it's a mixture of hazel that was fairly dry and silver birch down the end. But hopefully it should still do the job, and I'm kind of pleased with the end result, even though it's definitely far from perfect. It's all about practicality at the end of the day. So stay tuned for the second part in the next video, where I'll finish this trap off and hopefully we'll catch something to cook here. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. It's nice to have a camp near enough finished. There's definitely more to do to it, there's more I've got to add, but it's actually serving its purpose now as a bushcraft camp, an area where I can do things like this, craft things, make things, enjoy nature. Got the raised bed, hopefully do some overnights. Need a log store, need some other areas where I'm going to do things woodworking wise, and yeah, I'm pleased with it. At the end of the day, I know the tarps don't look nice. I'm never a huge fan of, obviously, in a bushcraft shelter, a tarp, but the practical side of it is just second to none. They're obviously totally waterproof, so you don't have to worry about any leaks. I have done natural roofing before and it works really, really well, but it does take an awful lot of time and effort, and it's quite nice to just get this up quickly and have somewhere to do these types of skills. So thank you if you've been watching this episode all the way through. I really appreciate it. I'll link to the other ones where I built this bushcraft camp in the description below, and yeah, stay tuned for the next one, where I'll probably do a bit more to the camp and get this finished up, and hopefully we go fishing with it, see what we can catch. And yeah, thank you folks. I'll catch you guys in the next episode.